Many of our learners have siblings in their households. Those siblings can be absolutely amazing for peer interaction, but they also present their own challenges. For instance, some of our learners exhibit a lot more challenging behavior directed towards their siblings. So, how can we help our students learn appropriate ways to treat their siblings? Hi, I'm Shayna, and together with my partner Shira, we are How to ABA. We're behavior analysts who create weekly content about how to teach children with autism so that they make real progress. And we create shareable resources to make your job just a little easier. Today's topic is all about working with siblings. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new video releases. So my sister is 5 years younger than I am. We're pretty close, but I was an only child with all of my parents' attention for 5 years before she came along. It's really funny because I still remember and probably still hold a grudge one time that she literally ate my markers. I was so upset with her. And I can just look back and imagine what my parents had to deal with when we were younger and I was throwing temper tantrums really to get my parents' attention because she was just so much younger and she needed a lot more attention than I did at that age, right? Sibling relationships can be really tough. Like I said, I'm close to my sister, but we also, because we're so close, probably don't filter enough. There's a lot of things that we say to each other that probably should be left unsaid. And you can probably see this either, within your own lives, but also when you're working with kiddos and looking at their siblings, they're close, but they have that almost love-hate relationship, right? Sibling relationships are tricky. They're vital for emotional development, but conflicts can definitely arise. Today, we're going to talk about some strategies that you can use to help support positive interactions among learners and their siblings. So the very first thing we want to do is we want to define the behavior that we're seeing. So oftentimes parents will come to us and say, I really need you to help me work with my kiddo to help him be more appropriate around his sibling. And it's like, well, what do you mean by more appropriate? So we really have to look at that behavior and we need to define what that means, right? So they may act out towards their siblings. It might be some kind of aggression. It might be just, they don't know their own force. So not only defining the behavior, but then looking at the function of behavior. Is the function of behavior because they want to make their sibling go away? Is it because they want their sibling's attention? They really want to play, but like I said, they don't recognize their own force? Or is it they want their parents' attention? What is that function? You really can address challenging behavior way more directly if you know the function. So check out another video that we have on identifying functions if you're looking for that. But specifically around siblings, we also need to look at times of day, right? So are there any times of day specifically that your learner is less appropriate around their sibling, or maybe there's times of the day where your learner is actually very appropriate around their sibling? If so, what are those moments? And when I think about that, I look at HRE, what Hanley would say, happy, engaged, relaxed, or happy, relaxed, engaged. And that is really, when are they calm? Okay, are there situations we can capitalize on and really praise for being calm in those moments around their siblings? And then we can gradually and systematically put a few triggers in there and help our kiddos learn to deal with those challenging behaviors. Also, we do really need to keep in mind that challenging behavior is not all one-sided, right? We talk about, our learners have to, engage in less aggression around their siblings, or they have to do this, or they have to do that. But think about their siblings. I'm sure their siblings are triggering some type of emotional response or some type of behavior from them as well. So behavior can't be and is not all one-sided. So, you really do have all the strategies you want to help your learner, but maybe the sibling needs some tools as well. And maybe you have to work directly with the sibling to do that. My suggestion would be to invite the sibling into sessions if you're working in a home environment, or if you're in a school and you're able to invite the sibling in with permission, you can do that as well. I would prime the sibling ahead of time, if possible. Like 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, younger kiddos aren't going to understand, but some older students will. And you can say, here's what we're going to do. I really want you to play with your brother brother, your brother really wants to play with you. And here's what we're going to do. I want you to be my assistant today, and we're going to play these games. Now, he might try and push you. I want you to say this, and really try and, talk to the sibling ahead of time, and maybe even role play with the sibling before they even get into session and work with your student essentially. You also want to be able to give that sibling lots and lots of praise and lots of attention. When I was younger, we used to work with siblings, and the sibling would have a token board as well. There'd be lots of reinforcement for the sibling. So really making sure that you've set that up and that they're getting your attention and your praise as well, because oftentimes that's enough as positive reinforcement. The other big thing is that you want to encourage communication. And what do I mean by that? You want to teach your student to use words. So if your learner is verbal, you can teach your student to say, I don't like that, go away, give that back, whatever that function is. We need to teach that communication. Another big thing would be to model what you want your learner to do with their sibling. So again, get in there and play with the sibling, model, and then say, okay, it's your turn. Or maybe it's some type of video model that you can do as well. That is huge, right? So just really, making sure that you're giving lots of examples of some positive things to do. Another big one is establish boundaries. Make sure that you're setting clear and consistent rules. I don't call them rules, maybe call them expectations, but that you're setting clear and consistent expectations about what are acceptable behaviors towards their siblings and what's not, and making sure that parents follow through with those boundaries as well. And again, reinforcement. Catch them being good when they are engaging in positive play with their siblings. Get in there and reinforce and play. Encourage parents, right? You want to train parents. You can't do this by yourself. You can't work with the siblings just on your own. Parents, the rest of the time that you're not there, have to follow through. So maybe parents can join the sessions, and, you can give them strategies during the sessions of times that they can do that. You also want to see if parents can maybe set up some times where they can give some individual attention. And I know that's really hard, especially the more siblings they have, the more demands they have at work, the more things that they have to do at home. I get it. But if parents can set aside specific amounts of time to give individualized attention, that's amazing. I often recommend to parents that they write in a calendar, that they say mommy daddy day, or mommy daddy, mommy daughter day, daddy son day, daddy daughter day, that kind of thing in the calendar. And I know that parents do grab 5 minutes here and there to, be one-to-one, but label it for the kids. Hey, look, we're together. Look, it's just the two of us. That seems to go a long, long way. So provide that individualized attention for students. Another big one is emotional regulation, teaching some calming down techniques. So, if they can communicate, I don't like that, this is hard, that kind of thing. And then teaching some breathing techniques and teaching them how to calm themselves is great. For another video on teaching emotional regulation, check out another one that we have. Another big thing is teaching the size of my problem. I sometimes teach this, I sometimes don't, depending on the learner and what they're capable of understanding. But I also, size of my problem is basically it's supposed to be, if you've got a small problem, it's a small reaction. If you've got a big problem, it's a big reaction. The problem with that, though, is that sometimes your small problem is perceived as a big problem for someone else. So just recognize that if you are teaching that program. The last thing that I like to do is find common interests. I do this with peers, I do this with siblings, I do this with parents, but if there is a common interest that they have with their sibling, maybe it's playing the same dolls together, or the same video game, or hey, they like the same food, whatever that is, find those common interests and get them to play together with those common things versus doing something together that they both don't really like doing, or one of them has to compromise. So lastly, catch them interacting appropriately together, and, set up lots of situations where they can interact appropriately and practice that and praise and praise and praise. So other videos that we've talked about are understanding the functions of behavior and how to teach emotional regulation. So check those out as well. And for more information on working with siblings, click the link in and around this video or in the description to claim your free Functions of Behavior cheat sheet. We also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future videos, and leave a like and comment below if you have further questions.